Felt like I either was going to kill myself or do something. So I got jacked, 2 months of hazing, didn't actually change me internally at all. I didn't feel connected to any of them. Only time I can talk is like if I was drunk. I spent the summer spending, it was like $500 I had at the time. Spent it all on like different programs. One psychologist talked about neuroplasticity, of like how the mind can form new neural pathways. And that just like shook my world. I was like, whoa, I can literally do anything if I just focus internally. The controller, there's this part in all of us that is trying to control and to do things like perfectly, the right way.
How do you define success?
Success, I need to...
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Health Chats podcast. I am sitting here with Mr. Alex.
Yo.
What's up? And we're in beautiful Bali in my yard, and we're just gonna have a little conversation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna interview the usual interviewer who asks deep questions through this cool card game.
Oh, me. Okay.
You. That's you. It's not that deep. A little bit. It is that deep. And where I want to start is before we get into Connection Lab and the card game, I want you to share who you are. Biggest question in the world.
Who am I?
Who am I? I want to hear how you answer that.
Well, this can get like really deep very fast.
I like that.
Okay. Yeah, this question I asked myself. With like growing up, I asked myself this question of like, who am I? What do I like? What's my purpose? What's my mission? And growing up, I was really into that side of like understanding my mind, especially as I started getting into self-growth. It was very much about understanding the different parts of my mind, like seeing who, I guess in a sense, in that way, who I am. And then after I got into spirituality, I started asking the question, who am I? But more in the Ramana Maharshi way. He's like an Indian sage. He was this guy that basically kept asking himself this question, who am I? And eventually he said it brought him to enlightenment, where he was just like the witness of the person asking the question. And then I got very much into that, of like, I was asking myself that question, being that present awareness. And it was getting pretty deep when I was asking that question. And then I got into different philosophies of spirituality, like Vedantic spirituality, that says I am like the witness consciousness, the presence to everything. And then I did a 21-day Vipassana, and it shattered like all of my beliefs on what I thought I was. Basically, my teacher just kept saying, you're nothing, that there is no self. And it's basically what the Buddha says, that he's all about anahatta. It's like not self. And it was very triggering. But then last week, I did my own little 2-day Vipassana. And actually, I really like this idea now of not self. It kind of feels quite liberating. Like very freeing to know that there is no self. So now the way I think of it, okay, so I guess this is my answer. There's the character. Alex is the character. But that's like at one level, like the dualistic level, like, you know, in this material world. And then I think of like, the way I think of ultimate reality, like there is no self. It's just all one consciousness. So there is no self.
I knew you would answer this with such depth. I love it. And I also know that a lot of people listening might hear that and be like, what the hell is this man talking about?
Yeah, probably.
If you were you, let's say, 10 years ago, or before you really got into these sort of beliefs and teachings, and you said self-growth is where you began, what would you tell that version of yourself as he was stepping into the who am I?
Yeah, that's tricky. Well, I think honestly, 10 years ago, when I was getting into self-growth, I wasn't really asking myself really who am I exactly. I was more asking myself like, what do I want? So yeah, if that person was coming to me and like told me I want this, for example, I want confidence, I want all these things, I would still do a similar path of like giving him the path of meditation. So I think the path would still be similar, but I definitely wouldn't be using the words of like, there is no self and all these things. I wouldn't be telling that person that. I'll be more like, just observe the mind and observe how you're not your thoughts. And I think that even 10 years ago, I was able to resonate with that when someone told me you're not your thoughts, because I noticed that thoughts were just popping up. Like if I tried to sit and meditate for 10 minutes, you can go sit down and for 10 minutes and try to have no thoughts. Thoughts are going to pop up. So you're not the controller of the thoughts, and you're not those thoughts. And I think it's that experience, you can pretty easily see that you're not your thoughts. And that can bring a level of freedom when you see that thoughts are popping up and you're not taking it all so seriously. Not like, oh my God, like, why am I thinking this? Like, I shouldn't be thinking this. And there's shame and all these other emotions that come up after it and resistance. Yeah, so I would still give him that same approach of being able to observe your thoughts. I wouldn't tell the person, I wouldn't give any answer of like who you are, because also I don't know. I'm definitely not enlightened. The teacher I did the Vipassana with is also not enlightened. So even when I say this word like not self, I don't actually fully know what that means because I haven't experienced that either.
I love that. It brings in the fact that it's a journey, and I can really relate to where you started, whether it was 10 years ago or specifically whatever the timeline, when I first got into meditation too, and getting to the end of what felt like chaotic days for me. And if I could just sit and observe my thoughts, I remember life before that felt so much more stressful and I felt so out of control almost.
Yeah.
But then it was like, wait, I'm out of control, but it's okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of the shift
There's an
that
acceptance.
happened. Yeah, this level of
Yeah.
acceptance. So if someone's brand new listening to this and they're like, yeah, my first time meditating, maybe they're just stepping into it, or maybe they're a couple years into it and they want to get there, I think that's a really good starting point of just sit and meditate. But let's talk about you some more. Why did you choose this path of self-growth?
I have like the first answer that came into my head
Share it.
is like the deeper answer, but it's probably not useful to most people. So I'm going to share the answer at the time, like 10 years ago, what that person was thinking. The reason I got into self-growth was because I was very depressed. I had a lot of social anxiety, so it was really hard for me to connect with people. Just always had this sense of like tension around people and wanting to make friends and like wanting to be like relaxed, because I've seen glimpses of that times where I was like, you know, relaxed and flow in like a flow state, and it's like so fun. But most of the time I was around people, there's like tension and there was this, you know, thinking what to say next, all these things. And that brought me to a lot of pain, a lot of loneliness, depression. And from that place, basically I tried doing many things to try to make friends. Like I joined the football team in high school. I joined the wrestling team. I got jacked in like high school because I thought if I get jacked, you know, everybody's gonna like me. I'm gonna get girls.
We need to see photos.
I was like
Send me photos.
shredded, working out like 2 times a day and playing basketball every day, like just fucking shredded. Yeah, so I got jacked. Then I got to college. And I realized it didn't really make any difference. Like people were like, whoa, you're jacked. But then that was it. Like I was still very anxious around people. It didn't actually change me internally at all. Then I tried joining a fraternity, like, you know, a college fraternity. And I did like this, you know, 3 months of hazing, being, you know, the frat brothers bitch for like 3 months, doing all this like very embarrassing, terrible things. And then I joined the fraternity and I didn't feel connected to any of them. I felt just very anxious around them. I felt like I had to put on a mask. Only time I can talk is like if I was drunk. So I did all these things that I thought would bring me this like connection with people, and it didn't work. So then I got that's what brought me into like a deeper depression, very suicidal. This was like my sophomore year of college. But from that place, I basically had no choice, at least in my mind. I felt like I either was going to kill myself or do something, like figure out something. So I was scrolling on Reddit. And people were talking about social anxiety. And at least at that time, I learned what the word social anxiety is. Because before that, I didn't even know what the word was. I just knew something was wrong with me. So by hearing that this was a thing, it at least released some of the shame or like the personal problem. Because I realized, oh, a lot of people have this problem. And on Reddit, basically we were looking at this post of people talking about social anxiety. And probably like 95% of them were saying, oh, you're stuck with it. You're never going to change.
What?
You just have to suck it up, basically,
Yeah.
like try to cope with it. But then I remember one person said, no, you can actually overcome it. There's like specific therapeutic ways to treat social anxiety, and it is a treatable thing. And that just definitely stuck with me. It gave me this like, wow, like possibility that this isn't something I'm just like stuck with. There is at least some way. So basically that summer, I just like focused. I just like was completely like probably the most driven I've ever been in my life, because like that pain drove me. It's like either I literally thought to myself, I'm either gonna figure this out or kill myself.
Wow.
So I spent the summer, you know, taking all these different programs, basically spending any of the money I had, which was like, I think it was like $500 I had at the time. Spent it all on like different programs, like psychologists and courses. Learned a bit about meditation, but I really learned more about how the mind works and how the mind is designed in a way to get anxious, you know, for a lot of different reasons. And one huge thing that completely changed me is that one psychologist talked about neuroplasticity, of like how the mind like can form new neural pathways, and so you're just not fixed. And that just like shook my world. And it brought this like really deep sense of like self-confidence, which to me is different than social confidence. Like social confidence is like you feel comfortable around people, but
Yep.
self-confidence is like I can figure anything out. Like if I want something or do something, like I can just figure it out because I can create new neural pathways. Like my mind isn't fixed.
Yeah.
So that just created like a huge drive in me to want to grow. Because once I started seeing, after I was taking these programs, that my mind was changing and I saw it working, like I became more positive and all these things, I was like, whoa, like I can literally do anything if I just focus internally. So everything from that point was all about like self-growth.
The internal world, it sounded like, in that whole journey, you started external. And I think this is so common, especially working and like just being in this space. Why is it that we start with the external? I'm curious your thoughts on that, because many people I talk to, same thing. It's like, I go for the house and the car and the body and the perfect girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, like this external world, we try to make it look so perfect, but then usually that doesn't work, or people just continue with the chase.
Yeah.
Or they look inward. Yeah. Why do you think we start on the outside before the inside?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not too sure. I don't know where was the source of this, but for some reason it's what most people do. So I think we often look at other people to solve our own problems, like how it's conventionally done. Maybe it's because doing inner work takes some level of courage and honesty with yourself to be able to confront the reality of what's going on inside. And it's definitely more triggering. Like when you look inside and you're confronting things, like you're going to get triggered. Like change requires that your parts of your ego, die in a way. And that can be triggering.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just have to focus on the outside, you don't have to look inside or have that opportunity to get to trigger it yourself.
I also think it's control too, because it's things that maybe we feel we have more of a sense of control over, like going and earning a bunch of money, or going to the gym and knowing if I do this many reps and I eat this much food after, I'm in control of it. Where the inner world, now X amount of years later, maybe you feel more control over, but at the beginning, what was that relationship with yourself like?
Yeah, there was definitely some, and I don't know, like where is the source of this, but there was this conventional belief around my people around me, like my friends or peers, that who you are is your personality, and this is who you are. You're just this way. If you're shy and anxious, you're just shy and anxious. That's just your personality. I don't know where is the source of that, but that just was the conventional belief that you can't really change much. You're just genetics or whatever it is. This is who you are. Yeah.
Well, you're the proof, the testimonial that you can. And in that journey, it led you to meditation. And deeper, higher level, I guess we could say, meditation than most people listening to this have ever experienced. I want to know, again, before we get to the cards, because I want to talk about those too, but I want to know the journey of beginning with a 10-minute at-home meditation to a 21-day Vipassana. And for people who don't know what a Vipassana is, talk about it.
Sure.
How'd you get there?
So I started meditating I took those programs during that summer, and they all talked about being able to watch your mind so you don't take your thoughts so seriously. That's what started me, and I was meditating a little bit. Then I read a book by Ray Dalio. He wrote the book Principles. He's like the founder of the biggest hedge fund in the world. Amazing, amazing book. Has nothing to do with business, but it's more about like interpersonal growth, all that sort of stuff. And he talks about just watching the ego. He says the ego is the reason why most of us, the best ideas don't come forward. You're not able to reach your capabilities because let's say I have a goal, I want to start a business, and it doesn't work. Generally, Ray Dalio would say like we're going to look at all the reasons why it doesn't work externally. But he said you have to be very honest with yourself and know that you have an ego and be aware of that ego, because the ego really doesn't like to be looked at and it doesn't like to get triggered. It gets very defensive. So it's basically in order to be able to look at yourself, because it can be triggering, you need to watch that ego and see how it gets triggered and very defensive. And he said that's the reason why most companies and people in general, they're not able to get the best ideas forward, because people get into arguments and then it turns into like defending my opinion. So his whole company is about radical open-mindedness and radical honesty. And in order to do that, if you're going to be radically honest, people are going to get triggered. And in order to be okay with getting triggered or to be able to handle that, you have to be open-minded and watch the ego and be like, oh, this part, I was actually being defensive and your idea actually makes more sense. But that takes
Yeah.
being able to watch the ego.
Can you explain how you would define ego for someone who maybe hears that term and they're like, what the hell is, like, I hear this all the time, the ego, but maybe someone who's
Yeah.
fresh baby and they're like, what is an ego?
Yeah.
How would you define
That's
it?
a hard question because the way like yogis describe it is everything. Like the entire self that we conceive, like the human, all of that is the ego. But the way I would say it, like back then when I heard it, it's the part that gets defensive. Like anytime you get defensive, I would call that's the ego. Anytime you get triggered, that's the ego getting triggered. Anytime you feel like you need to, and I'm sure you know when you're feeling triggered and you're trying to get defensive, that's the ego being triggered.
Yeah.
Whereas you can say your opinions, and if the ego, like if you don't feel triggered, that's not, you can say maybe that's not the ego.
I like that. I think that's a good descriptor. So you were learning to manage your ego?
To watch it.
To watch it,
Yeah.
okay.
So I was, even before I started really meditating, I actually was meditating because throughout the entire day, I was always like in there in my mind, being aware of like what's going on. That anytime fear came up, I would call that's the ego getting triggered. So anytime there was fear, I really like stepped into that awareness and was like watching what's happening in the mind. So without even knowing it, at that time, I actually was doing meditation work because meditation is all just about being the watcher. So I did that, and then that's why he recommends meditation. Because yeah, it's like you can watch the ego, but meditation is really the practice of really practicing that. Because throughout the day, if you've never practiced meditation, more likely than not, your ego is going to get triggered and your ego is going to control you. It's going to take you over. So when you do meditation, you're sitting there and you're watching thoughts come over, and the thoughts are trying to pull you out of that centered awareness, but you get better and better at not getting pulled by them by just staying as the witness. So that in the day, when you do get triggered, you get in an argument or whatever, the more you practice meditation, that there's something in you that's getting triggered, the ego wants to jump and say all these things, but with practice you can just quickly come back to center and just relax, watch the thoughts, and then respond however you want to respond.
Yes. Responsiveness versus reactivity.
Yeah.
That's how I label them
Yeah.
in awareness and meditation and things that I practice in my own life. So in that, eventually you got to Vipassana. Was this the same guy who was like, go do that? Or what was in between? You first reading upon it and then...
I think the reason I did the first Vipassana was I was in New York City and I was at this improv event and I see this guy and his eyes are just like lit up. And I was just like, bro, your eyes just look like they're glowing. And he told me it was because he just did a Vipassana. And he said, when you do Vipassana like 10 days, you have this glow inside you for like a year. That's all I knew about. I didn't know anything else about Vipassana, but I was like, I want that. This glow just looks super cool.
I love that.
And then I just was open to it. Like I wasn't ready to do Vipassana. But then as I started traveling, being a nomad, I started hearing people use this word Vipassana and saying all these good things about it. And then basically I was in India like 3 or so years ago. And yeah, I just heard about the Vipassana. I saw there were centers there and I just felt ready to do it.
You dove in, all for the glow.
All for the glow. Yeah, my ego loves this glow.
Yeah. What would you describe that glow as now that you've done 2 Vipassanas, 10 days and 21?
10 days, 5 days, and 21.
Yeah. How would you describe the glow? Because I can imagine it's like when you meet someone and maybe people listening get it and they just like look so happy, like they have so much light in their eyes.
Yeah.
I feel like I know what that is, but I want to hear what you think it is.
I think you really can tell a lot about someone with their eyes. I feel like if you look at someone with like the most amount of maybe pain or ego, you're gonna see that their eyes like are pretty lifeless. Here's another example, like it's a weird example, but I've seen prostitutes before, and a lot of these people just have the most like, when I look into their eyes, because I can just feel they're carrying just so much pain and like so much trauma, that it just feels like they're still there, like that light inside them is there, but you don't really see it because it's covered by so much pain.
Yeah.
And I think what Vipassana is really doing, or any of these like spiritual practice or even therapeutic healing practices is all about removing that pain or darkness. You can say like all these attachments and releasing it, by feeling it. That's really the only way. The only way to let go of it is through it and to actually experience whatever was being suppressed. And I think, as the Buddha says, our minds in its natural state is very bright. It's completely glowing. Life is joyous, full of love, full of bliss. But what's covering it is, just all that pain and attachments. So when you do Vipassana, you're in that state where you just let go of so much, and you're being that aware presence, which I think has so much light naturally.
My heart's so happy just having this conversation. Where do I want to go with this? I see the light in your eyes. And I guess just in my own experience, going back to when I was younger to relate, and before I started meditating, I remember learning about internal family systems. Do you know that? IFS, have you heard of it?
A little bit, not too much.
It's this idea that we have all of these different parts inside, and these parts are built up based off of our life experiences, our traumas, our pains, our suffering, our good times, bad, all of it. And it creates these parts, which I kind of look at as these layers over the soul or over your heart. And I'm visualizing it right now being layers over your eye. Because you're right, you can tell so much by someone. They say that eyes are the windows to the soul. And I've met a lot of people who have just like this darkness. And so it's cool to know that you went through this experience, your own lived experience too, where you were able to just like pull out layer by layer that depression, that lack of confidence, those experiences that you were having at still such a young age. And now you're teaching it to people too. I think that's so rare and significant, so I hope you feel that. Your ego's probably like, no. Or maybe it likes it. Either way.
I'm just watching it, how it reacts. It didn't really react too much.
Yeah.
This is good.
Now, and let me know if I jumped too far, but through this connection that it sounds like you found to yourself, which is a deep journey, you're now connecting others and helping them kind of do the same thing, but it's through these cards. Did you bring the cards?
Yes, in the back.
Can we have them?
Can I get it?
Yeah. Pause, 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 pause.
Dun, 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 dun.
Looks like a box of chocolate.
Oh my God, I wish. I would probably trade it for some chocolate right now.
You want more chocolate?
I wish that was a box of chocolate.
So
magic.
Poof! We have the Connection Lab cards. But yeah, your whole journey, I think that's also why I feel so connected to you, because my journey's so similar, and like connecting humans now feels like such a big mission for me. But I want to talk about these Connection Lab cards and how you came from the anxiety, the looking inward, the meditation. You teach meditation as well out here in Bali, and Kundalini, which we can talk about if you want.
Kundalini.
But then it's also led to this, which if you guys are watching and not just listening, I'm holding a box of cards, and it's like this game where you pull cards and you ask a question and it helps you dive a little deeper. That's my basic description. Yes. I want to hear your vision with this.
Yeah.
And what are you trying to do with it? What's like the ultimate goal?
Yeah, I would say, the overall goal of Connection Lab is helping people feel connected to themselves. And through that connection with themselves, with the rest of life, whether that's the work they're doing externally, the relationships they have, any connection they have, even like the connection to a plant. Yes. And this card game is basically something I would have really enjoyed having like maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I started letting go of my social anxiety. And I wanted to have these like deeper conversations with people, but I felt a bit awkward, like how? I didn't really know how to have these kind of deep conversations with people. So this card game is basically a platform that if you do want to have these deeper connections, this just makes it so easy. Because it's a game, people like games in general. It's less awkward than like, having a deep question and just like asking someone. Yeah. And also when you do that, people usually are just very messy when they're having conversations. They're talking about random different things. But when you have this, it kind of creates this container of like, oh, we're here to talk about this topic. and people just become more present, more listening, and more in that mode of like, oh, this is like, we're here to talk about like some deeper, more vulnerable things.
Yeah.
And I think there's just so much power when we can share our authentic self. You know, the ego is so scared of getting triggered, so scared of being looked at. So we have like all these masks and all these layers, and we try to project of who we are. And that also creates so much shame because there's this part of you that feels that if I really share who I am, it's not going to be accepted. But there's so much power when you can share the vulnerable things out into the light, and people are able to listen and accept it. It's just so healing.
Yeah.
Like so much of shame is just can so easily be released if you just one look at it, bring your own awareness to it, but then when you share it to someone else and their awareness also comes into it. So it's like multiple lights coming into this thing that you used to think of like, oh, I can't tell anybody this, like this is something wrong with me.
Yeah.
So this is a platform for being able to share those things.
I love it. And if anyone wants to get it, we're going to link
Yes.
below however they wish or however they can get it. I would get it if I were you, if you're listening. Buy the cards. They're amazing.
Boom.
They have connected to us on such a deep level too already. So I love it. And I want to go back to what you said 5 years ago when you were like, I wish I had this. You didn't have it, but I know that you did things to try and get yourself out there and like work that courage muscle. Can you share some stories and maybe like a funny, embarrassing, vulnerable story of when you were trying to put yourself out there and like break down that awkwardness?
Yeah, so basically that summer where I was doing those programs to get more into growth, all the programs basically said you have to push your comfort zone. Like you can have all the positive mindsets in the world, but if you don't expose yourself, your mind, to the fear, your mind is still going to be scared. Like it wants to see proof that I can share these things and be safe and nobody's gonna yell at me, nothing's wrong. So the whole idea is exposure therapy. Yeah, you expose yourself to the fear. So I started this meetup group called Rejection Therapy in New York City. So we basically met up in Grand Central Terminal, which is like, you know, super busy terminal, tons of people, but it's perfect because there's so many people and there's like, it's just a perfect like playground to do all these different challenges. So we did so many different things, like very simple things at times, just like waving at people, you know, saying hello, giving a compliment to strangers. One actually I started to do a lot, like at that time was I was asking strangers to give me a compliment. And like I always got very similar reaction. Like I'll go to people and be like, hey, this is random, but can you give me a compliment? And the first like look at me like very confused. But then like more likely than not, they would actually like pause and then like look at me and then give me a compliment. Even in New York City, where people are like, you would think people are so busy, but no, most people like are actually stopped and talked. Obviously not everyone. Yeah, I did a bunch of other random challenges. Like the point was to do weird things where people give you that weird look of like, what are you doing? And to be able to just be like, oh, to accept being judged and to
What
be okay
was
with it.
top of mind your worst rejection where you were like, oh, because I mean, they all
worst.
probably felt that way, but one specific story.
There was one actually, the first one that came to mind actually, it wasn't actually me. It was, so I was doing a workshop, like, not really a workshop, I just wanted other people to do this challenges with because I didn't want to do it by myself. So I had other people come with me. And in today's challenge, we were asking strangers, can I taste your food? And we were in Grand Central, there's like a restaurant area in the bottom. So we're going around. There's actually one group actually let me eat their ice cream.
What?
But then one of my friends, who I became friends with them from that meetup, he asked this like two guys, can I eat their food? And they said no, but for whatever reason, he kept asking them. And then they just started yelling at him.
Oh no.
And I just felt so bad because like, you know, obviously he's trying to push his comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I just felt so awkward because like I was kind of encouraging him to do this. And I just felt so bad like that he just got yelled at.
Yeah, the awkwardness just like comes back around.
Yeah.
But that's okay, that's part of it.
That's part of it.
It's part of learning. I did a self-challenge just by myself a few years ago. It was the like seeking discomfort, like yes theory. And for 10 days straight, I was like, I'm just gonna do something that makes me so uncomfortable every day. And it started with me doing a cartwheel in the dollar store and like getting a random stranger to film it. So I went up
Nice.
with my phone and it was already filming. And I was like, will you film this? And you could like see him in it. He was like, yeah, okay, haha. Like so cute, so funny. And
Nice.
I can relate because I did it and I did the cartwheel. And then after I was like, I feel so good. Like this is such a weird, random thing. But because I had fear towards it and I did it, it's like my internal courage was just like a superpower. Like I leveled up 10
Yeah.
from doing that one thing.
Yeah.
And I'm curious in that, do you think courage is a muscle that we have to continue to work? Or
Yes.
is it, you do, okay. Why?
Yeah, from my experience, I've also talked to some other like psychologists about this. I think like self-confidence, like that inner confidence of like you can do anything and all these things, those come down to beliefs and those can become permanent. But courage, to me, I just really see it the same as going to the gym. Like you don't go to the gym, work out, and then you're done. You have to keep conditioning. And I've seen the same exact thing with courage is the more you become courageous, you have this like courage muscle and you can do more courageous things. But I've noticed when I stop doing that, my courage muscle goes down. But the good thing is, just like going to the gym, when you stop going to the gym for a while, but if you go back, you can pretty quickly get back in shape. The same thing I've seen it true for the courage muscle. Like once you start doing courageous things, you can quickly come back to your previous like courage muscle level.
That's
But
empowering.
yeah, in my experience, it has been a muscle, and it hasn't been you just do some courageous things, and forever it's a practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that. For yourself right now, what are some non-conventional courageous things that you're practicing in your life?
Non-conventional. Yeah, maybe I will call this non-conventional. So I've had this gut issue. There was this gut, issue in my body for like 2 years, and I was looking for all these solutions. And I really do believe that actually this is some pattern of whenever that gut issue comes, there's always a sense of worry about it. And this this energy of worry, which connects with the solar plexus chakra, which covers the whole gut area and digestion. And the energy that's usually stuck there is worry. And I really do believe now that this was some cycle of me just wanting to control. Because normally, if I have a gut issue or any type of issue, really, I get into like problem solver mode and optimize mode, which I'm really good at. And I can find solutions and all these things and execute solutions.
You're a man.
I'm a man that likes to fix things. And for this gut issue, I'm seeing that the issue, or the actual issue, is seeing it as an issue. And it takes level of awareness and trust to, even when the gut issue arises, like bloating, to not take it seriously. Because my mind really wants to go to the doctor, find the information online and do the new thing to try to fix it. So for me, it does take some, I'll say faith, which I would say is very similar to courage. Some faith and courage to not let that worry consume me and not act from that worry. Yeah, that's what comes to my mind.
I appreciate that share. I feel like that's really vulnerable, and I can connect with you on that because I used to have gut issues for like
Yeah, I remember you
my
said.
whole life, yeah. And it's like the practice of meditation. It's stepping into the seat of the witness, right?
Yeah.
Rather than being there and with your ego trying to control and reacting and doing what you might normally do, which kind of comes to like NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and what is the story you're telling yourself about the gut. But you can also take that into so many other areas of your life. What is the story you're telling yourself about if you go up to a girl and ask her out and who knows what she's going to say? Like I can see that link back to courage. So I like that. Let's swap back to meditation a little bit and the journey of enlightenment.
The journey of 100,000 lives, at least.
So you said at the beginning, I'm not enlightened yet. And I mean, there's so many opposing beliefs in this during the human experience. And so I want to hear yours. While you're living here as a human being in your human body and whoever you are, what would it look like to truly be enlightened in this experience? Or what do you believe that looks like?
Like how would an enlightened being act?
Yeah, how would you act? How would you show up? What do you do in your life? What don't you do in your life? What is that?
Yeah, I think every character. Like the way I say, like all of us humans, the way I think of it now, we're characters. And every character has there's an authentic character inside them. If they didn't have any of the fear, didn't have any of the guilt, didn't have any of the control, this character, most of the time, I think, is going to be very loving, very joyous, all these things. But each character is going to act its own way. Some characters maybe just want to sit and do that all day. Some maybe authentic characters are going to be crazy and like act like childs and be playful and go to dance and all these different things. So I imagine every authentic character like is going to act a different way. But I think generally when someone fully removes that sense of self, like I am the self and here's the outside world, they are going to see everything as one, just one consciousness. I think naturally from that is going to be a level of compassion and love towards everything because everything is just all one. There's no sense of separation. And I think naturally there will be a sense of contribution and wanting to be of service to the whole. Like instead of focusing on how can I serve myself, if everything is all one self, it is naturally that you're going to want to serve and help.
I love that. I love how you paint it as characters too, because I think of different people who I know in my life who are just like such positive energy, such high vibes. And you're right. Some people, they chill. They're not really doing much. Other people, they're influencers and they're like, I want to serve the world and like become this grandiose version of myself that everyone can see. But I would still consider them close to enlightened because of who they are at their core being and how they act and the type of love that they're spreading. Like we said before this, it's all love.
All love.
It's all love.
Even Buddha said, like, it's just a feel of unconditional love.
Yeah. So in service, I mean, I look at these cards as one way that you serve. You also teach meditation, Kundalini. In what ways, I mean, if you had to choose a favorite, you don't have to, but what's your favorite way to serve right now?
Yeah, the way I think of it is I pretty much make all of my real decisions now with my third eye, intuition, which the Ajna chakra, they call the command center. That's like the spiritual command center. And the intuition from there is supposed to lead to the highest good of the self, like this character, but also the rest of the world. So whenever I'm making decisions, I'm asking this intuition what to do. So that in itself I see as service because I'm not just asking like what do I feel like doing. I'm asking kind of like what is the right thing to do. And it told me to make these cards. It told me to to do meditation classes. It told me to do the Connection Lab events. So obviously it wants to do things that are of service. And so I kind of let it choose of what to do. Because there's been times where I thought I wanted to do something and this intuition told me no. For example, like a few years ago, my dream was to be a content creator and an influencer and to do all these different videos. And after I sold my previous business, the plan was to go all in on content, but my intuition told me no. And it was devastating at the time. And it told me instead to focus solely on Connection Lab. And it worked out much better because actually wasn't really, I guess, fully aware of it at the time, but so much of my drive to do that content was coming from ego. It was like I wanted to get the views, I wanted girls to like me and to all those things.
Yeah, what a shift in journey. And I've asked you this before, but I don't know if I still entirely understand it. Like when you're listening to your intuition and you're like asking, if you had to give someone a how do you do that? How can someone do it step by step?
I think there's multiple ways. For some people, it's a sense of feeling. Other people, they have this like internal knowing. Other people hear like words and thoughts. If you want to actively cultivate this, one, I fully believe that intuition is always there, but it's tuning into it and it's being able to listen to it. And in order to do that, you need to be present and have that stillness. Because otherwise the mind or the fear or all these other parts are going to be louder. So in order to hear intuition, you need to come first to center stillness, that present awareness, just like you're doing when you're meditating. And for me, this is how I do it, is I have a question. For example, like, should I come and do this podcast? I didn't actually ask my intuition. I just felt like I wanted to. But
Thanks.
if I did want to ask my intuition, I would just be like, I would ask, I'll get centered. And for me, I would do, this side is yes and this side is no. And then when I just get very present and like not trying to think of, not trying to do anything, just being very present, my body is going to move like one of the ways. And actually, it's interesting. It used to do that like very slowly. But after I've been doing Vipassana, especially that 21-day Vipassana, now when I ask the question and have it just literally like just jerks me,
Yeah.
like just violently
So
jerks me. Like it looks like I'm twitching.
I've seen it in live action. Yeah.
But I've also done it in the past where instead of this way, I would just come to the back of my head, which is like where the Ajna chakra is sourced, and I'll have a question, and I'll just, thoughts will come up, and I'll keep like letting go of the thoughts, but eventually there's this like clearer, more subtler thought or voice, you can say, that it feels a bit different, and it comes up a little bit more in a different way, and that's I can feel as intuition. The only issue with that one was like I do that if I have bigger decisions, like then I'll do that also, but it's a bit harder. It takes for this way has just been much faster for me to access. So yeah, that's one way. You can see where you can use your body to.
But it starts with presence.
Yeah, I think presence, that's like a must part of it, is you need to first come to stillness. Because otherwise, I first started doing this when I decided to break up with my ex, which was like around 3 years ago. And I knew something wasn't aligned, and my heart, my intuition, multiple times was telling me that it wasn't right. But as soon as that thought would come up that this wasn't aligned, the fear would jump in and be like, no, why would you ruin this relationship? You're gonna do this in the next relationship. Why would you? She's amazing. All this like fear of like this is a mistake. But it kept coming up, and every time that voice came up again, the fear would come up. But then one time I had the help of a coach where I was able to just really step into that intuition, and I heard it very clearly. And I knew this was like this intuitive knowing that what was right. And it takes courage. It takes, I would say intuition does take, you can hear it. I think a lot of people, they can hear their intuition, but it's one thing to hear it, but it's another thing to have the courage to act on it and decide to do it. But in my experience, it always leads to so much more alignment, so much more beauty, so much magic. So many beautiful things have come from just following intuition.
Oh, I love that. Music to my ears. Is there a recent story of when your intuition told you no, but you were like battling and wanted it to be a yes, and maybe you didn't listen to your intuition?
Yes.
Do you want to share?
I had that with a girl I met in Bali. My intuition told me no, to not be romantic with her, but my balls in this area was like, fuck that, she's hot, and it's just really fun.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, basically one day, in the beginning I was following it, but then one time when we were together, I tried asking my intuition like right when she was in front of me and things were getting like starting to be romantic, and I couldn't hear it clearly. And I thought I heard a yes, which is why it takes presence and it takes stillness, which is really hard. Like if you're in the middle of that crisis or in front of someone, it can be very hard to hear your intuition because that mind and all those thoughts are gonna be so loud and it's gonna be so chaotic. So for me, especially in the beginning, if you're practicing it, you're better off asking it when you're by yourself in your room and like in a peaceful, you're able to get that stillness. But yeah, so at the time I couldn't really hear it. So we ended up being romantic and it just became like a whole mess, very chaotic, and it kind of ruined the friendship that we had. And I mean, it worked out. I think it was still an amazing lesson. But yeah, it definitely turned pretty chaotic.
So in that, what I'm hearing is when you don't listen to the intuition, chaos comes. Do you think that's always true? I know that's an absolute word, always, but the difference between listening to the intuition versus not and getting a lesson out of it is either really right?
Yeah, exactly. I think there is, in a really deep sense, there is no right or wrong. Everything is karmic condition. So yeah, that was the experience to be had, was to not listen to the intuition and see where that leads. But yeah, in the sense, you can always say everything is a learning lesson. So even if you follow you never follow your intuition, it leads to pain and pain and pain and pain. Maybe that's exactly what you needed, and there's nothing wrong with that.
The middle way.
The middle way.
I love it. I want to ask you a question from one of your connection cards to wrap this up, because I feel like we've been yapping for a while. And this is a good way to wrap it. Wrap the yap.
Wrap the yap.
Wrap the yap. And then I'll ask one more question afterwards. Do you want a level 3?
Level 3.
Here, I'm going to grab a bunch of them and then shuffle them.
Yeah.
Ooh, so we've got closing, level 2. Yeah, what are the levels?
Level 1, level 2, Level 3, and then there's a reset card.
Oh, okay. We're going straight for level 3, guys. Just like I started this
Straight
interview.
into
Straight
it.
into who are you?
Balls deep.
Whoop. Okay, it's this one. Wild.
Wild card.
Doesn't
yeah,
work.
I think we should do question would be better. There's wild cards, which are different, and then there's questions.
That's wild. It's getting wild in here.
Wild
Whoa.
birds are flying.
I feel like I already asked you this. Wow.
Yeah.
Can I work for you? I would do so well. This one's about what is ego? When was the last time it took over?
Whoa.
How does it, yeah. I kind of asked this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, next. This is a good question. So, what is your most negative trait you can admit to? How is it harmful to yourself or others? How could you let go of it?
In our next run, I'm going to change the word. I don't like the word most negative trait. I like the word, most harmful trait. Sounds better. But yeah, most harmful trait. The controller. There's this part, I think, in all of us that is trying to control and to do things like perfectly, the right way. Even I actually realized when I asked my intuition, even this controller comes up there too. Because a lot of times, like, even small things, I'm asking my intuition because I want to make the right decision. And that is also the controller trying to come up and like make sure everything's right and perfect and like ideal. So yeah, same thing, that controller comes up in so many scenarios, like finding the right partner, like not wanting to make a mistake of like choosing the wrong partner. So many areas, like this controller, perfectionist is always there, always trying to, control.
Control. And I would even argue to keep you safe, to protect in some way.
For sure. It has, it's not shut up, you controller. It's like, oh, I hear you, but what my intention is to not react from the controller.
How can you let go of it?
Not identifying, just watching, just seeing that it comes up, there's the controller, and there it goes. Not like there's the controller and, oh, okay, what do you say? Okay, I'll do this. And like then you're going with it. You're letting it walk you and you're acting from the controller.
Yeah.
Instead of just, it's like, hi, bye.
Witness, like watching a movie, watching the character.
Yeah, watching the character come up, hi, bye. You're seeing it go. Because if you don't let it go with you, it will just pass. It only continues if you keep your awareness, if you identify with it and you don't have that separation of, oh, this is like the mind just popping up. If you take it seriously, then might be walking with it for an hour and it's gonna be telling you all these plans and all its scenarios and how to do things perfectly.
Yeah. Ooh, wisdom. Yeah. That's gold. Gold, my friends.
Gold.
Gold like the magic golden ball.
This is what gave me all the powers
sounds
today.
like Christmas. I don't know if you can hear it, but... I have one final question for you.
Okay.
Coming from my soul, I like to ask everyone this question.
Okay.
How do you define success?
Success. I need a Lamborghini. I need a woman with blonde hair with nice and a Rolex. And I'll say success. For me, success is living in a state of joy, love, and peace. If I'm living in this state, I'm living a beautiful, successful life.
I love that. Beautiful. Well, thank you for this deep conversation.
Thank you for asking me all these questions.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you all next time on the Health Chats podcast. I'll link all of this stuff below. Definitely get the cards because they're amazing. Are they on Amazon?
No. They're on our website.
You have a website, okay.
connectionlab.io.
And if people want to reach you?
Instagram @thisisAlexT. Thank you.
Give me a half heart. He's so cute. Namaste.
Boom.
Peace and love. Cue the explosion.